You're listening to a Faith Matters podcast.
We're moving into our Becoming Unoffendable segment with Denise, which you can find. Her website is denise.nz, and I can only encourage you to head over there, look up her podcast page. Is that correct, Denise?
Yeah, it is. It's quite exciting, actually. I'm starting to get people just being able to go in and choose what sort of segment they want. They can choose whether they want to listen to Marriage Matters or Pastor's Corner or Becoming Unoffendable or just our chats
Faith
with
chats,
people. Yep.
Yeah, it is brilliant. Everything you need to find on our podcast is right there at your fingertips. Look up a heading that might attract you and head on in and have a listen. It is, it's a great resource.
And of course, if you want the whole show and you just want to sit back and listen like you were on the radio, that's where you go to the Raglan Community Radio website and look up Faith Matters, because we put the whole show there and then we divvy it up for the podcast as well.
Yeah, or if you just want to listen to some good sounds, you can head into Spotify, look up Faith Matters, capital F, capital M, and you will hit my music, list. There you go. There's about 542 items on there. Yeah,
34 hours.
34 hours. It's growing since I last looked. There's 34 hours of music on there. You are going to find some inspiration, things that'll make you think, and things that'll lift your heart too. So,
which means you don't have to listen to the same thing over and over, because there's a lot on there to choose from.
There is, and we're always adding to it too. So we're going to head into this week's blog, Denise, because it is Mother's Day on Sunday.
It is.
Yay. Yep. We get celebrated.
I know. I'm going on a picnic. I'm going on a little picnic at Hamilton Gardens, apparently. That's where my kids are going to take me. I know. Well, just take a umbrella or something.
Oh, good on you. There we go. Think positive. There we go. So we're going to head into this week's blog is called "What Do You Expect? Expectations, Impact, Satisfaction." Yeah, and you're talking about the influence of parents and growing up, the good and the bad, the ugly.
Well, that's the thing with Mother's Day. Like, some people have really positive stories when they think Mother's Day, and other people really don't. And there is the full spectrum. And yet the impact of our mothers or the rest of our family when we're growing up actually in a large way shapes what we expect, or how we expect other people to behave when we grow up. We think that they're going to react the same way that our family did. And I don't know about you, but when I went flatting, and we used to have these great conversations about the ways that our different households operated, and we very quickly figured out that none of us were, we thought of ourselves as normal, but as soon as you start the conversation about how does your household run, you very quickly find out that nobody's normal. Everybody's got their own little way of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my younger years, everyone I knew had a two-parent family, and I had a friend who had a solo mum, and it was the most, I was like, really? Wow. I was really fascinated to be in that environment, because it was quite different from the environment that I was in, although her mother was a bit of a tyrant.
Oh, well.
But she had to manage
keep
everything.
A tight
so
ship.
There we go. Yeah, she did. The foundations that families are built on, I know in my family origins, from my experience, I saw mum and dad, like I say, I came from a two-parent family, and marriage was foundational. It was really important. There was no separation. So I kind of, that went into me quite strongly. I had gotten so many things wrong in my life as I grew up. I thought the one thing I want to do well is my marriage. I didn't want to be divorced. So far, so good.
Woohoo! Well done.
Thank you.
How many years and counting?
I don't know. 99 we got married.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that feels ancient.
It's 26 and a bit years.
There we go. So, yeah, I'm holding to it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thank you. So, foundations, but in saying that, my siblings have both been divorced. So, one several times. So, and I looked at them when I was in my younger years as well, and I thought I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to get, because they had big flash weddings, and my parents have spent a lot of money on that, and it lasted a couple of years and it was over.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, wow. And my own wedding was nothing like that. We got married at home. I think our wedding cost a couple $100. I wore a gold piece of material that I wrapped around like a sash dress, whatever you call it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a sari.
There we go. Yep. Bare feet.
Wow.
It was pretty simple, and we just had our neighbours and friends there. It was very simple, but it's lasted, Denise.
Yeah.
I don't know. There
Yeah.
we go.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's so cool when you can actually look back over many years and say, I've actually managed to do those hopes and dreams and desires that I had when I was little.
Yeah, I think it was really important for me to tick a box there that, it was foundational for me. It was something in me that I hold very dear, for sure.
So I guess with the blog, I was thinking about, the impact of our families growing up, but then as we grow, we step out from maybe our family unit and we might go live with others, we might not, but we now get to actually, rather than having the way that we behave influenced by our parents who are like, or people, guardians who are around us saying this is how you will behave, we now actually get to choose how we behave. We get to choose whether or not we learn from the people that we bump into. We get to choose whether or not we actually decide to live with a bad attitude and make a real negative space around us. We choose what we get to listen to.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I know for me, I really like sort of that nostalgic feeling, and I can go to the radio or even Spotify nowadays and put on music that will get me to feel a certain way, but when I'm nostalgic, I'm kind of also lethargic, and kind of my headspace is way back then,
for sure. Yeah.
and I'm not like in the present and going, wow, today is an amazing day, today is a gift. And so I actually choose often to put on more uplifting music because it keeps me in today, and it sets me up just for a whole different environment as I go about, might be more productive. I might, even if I'm resting, it might just be like more refreshing rest because I'm actually in a positive space, sort of present. Because my tendency would be to go way back when, or to imagine how things could be. I've had to learn as an adult how to be content in the moment.
Yeah, I think I'm the same with music. Music can take me right back, and I'm right in that moment and that memory and that feeling and nostalgia, as you put it. Yeah. So, what we listen to is pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And going back to, the foundations and how we want to build into our own families, or how we want to be a mum, and, what have we carried through with us? I think for me, when my mum went through a lot of trauma, which, kind of came out as she was parenting me. I think I reminded a lot of herself, and unfortunately that was to my detriment as I was growing up. And when I had my own family and I was parenting, I started parenting the way my mother parented, and I quickly realised that this was not me. This is not the way I wanted to do this, and I had to absolutely annihilate those foundations that I came from and rebuild them. in a way that was satisfying for me. And so I had a lot of love. I loved my kids, and I really wanted them to know that they were loved. So that was a really big one for me, is safety in the family, that my children knew that they were loved and valued. So I often told them I loved them. I often had lots of hugging from me, lots of, physical contact. And as I surrounded myself with people that had done family, what I consider, really well, I started to learn things, how others had done that, and pick that up myself.
Yes.
Which was so valuable. I mean, I remember coming into a family environment and seeing, just sitting back and watching how they worked as a family, and it was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I had never experienced that kind of family environment like that, and again, I took that on, and I took the pieces out that resonated with me, and I translated that into my own.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about, that very thing in the blog, and that, you can now shape your environment. So when you observe other people and you choose to learn from them, because what you're expecting from other people, if you are expecting them, if your only input is like movies with, let's just say the Hollywood people are, probably not your average standard people. So if you expect everyday people to live up to that standard, they're just not going to be able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
If
Hollywood stories, huh?
Yeah, or even like watching influencers or something like that on different social media platforms, they are giving you the beautiful highlights, filtered potentially, version of their story that they've put a lot of time and effort into making sure they present themselves well. Again, if you hold that up against somebody, when they wake up in the morning and they've got crusty goobs in their eyes, and it's just like, you're just not like this person. It's like, no, nobody's like that person. Not even that person's like that person.
True that. Yeah.
But when we feed ourselves on that sort of thing constantly, that's what we come to expect. And now our expectations are completely unrealistic, which is hard for the people around us, but it's also disappointing. So you just get disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, and you're walking around miserable because life is not what you thought it would be. But maybe life was never going to be this unrealistic expectation that you've built because of whatever you're feeding yourself. So I love that you're like, actually, I sought out people who did family well. But the other thing I thought was interesting that you said was that you said you were from a 2-parent family, and yet actually your experience with your mum was not that great. Yet you, when you had your young kids, you were a solo mum.
Yes.
And you were pouring love into them.
Yeah.
So how, like we could stereotype and say, well, you had a 2-parent family growing up, therefore it was wonderful. And you're like, no, that is not my story.
No.
Equally, we could look at a solo parent family and go, oh well. But actually, your kids in that scenario experience love.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was everything to me, Denise, that they knew that they were loved and valued, and that I genuinely loved my children, and still do, obviously. I think they're incredible. My kids are incredible. I'm proud of each one of them, and my grandkids. I'm a proud mama.
Yeah.
I look at my family and my heart just explodes with gratitude of the direction I took, because they're heading in such beautiful places because of they tell me because of my input. That's been hard for me to accept. I just think, no, you're great people, and I'm just really blessed to have you in my life. But they tell me that it's because of what you did, Mum. And it's like I say, that's really hard for me to accept, because I came from such hard beginnings, and to feel that much love from my kids is overwhelming. Yeah.
That's so cool. So, at what stage in your parenting journey did you kind of enter into your faith journey?
So my daughter would have been, so actually it would have been probably not long before I got married, so 97, I think. I started on my faith journey. And I met PJ at that time, and we put together a blended family. We weren't Christians, but we both had our own belief systems that were quite similar. He had a different way of parenting than I did. He let the wild man of the West, and so were his kids. They were like fishermen, hunters, didn't really care how the house looked. And, I came in and I was very structured, Denise, because I was a solo parent.
Yeah.
And when you're running, both mum and dad yourself, and you're doing everything, you have to be structured. And I was extremely structured. My kids had bedtimes, dinner times, they had to have clean rooms, and, everything was in its place. I had to learn to loosen some of that up, because I was now engaging with two boys who like to make huts in the lounge, and we're messy, and we're just leave the bench full of stuff, have a feed and take off. And I was like, this is too much for me. So we had to learn, how do we bring this together so that we're all happy here, not just part of us are happy, and I'm not a tyrant going, you need to pick that up, put that away, can't have that up there, no, that's too untidy.
Good parent, bad parent.
And everyone else is like, oh man, you're pretty strict.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I talked in here about foundations and how I guess the family unit is our foundation, and when we come together with somebody else who's been brought up in another household, another way of doing things, and now we've got to create a foundation for our kids. That's quite a challenge. It takes the thing that I talked about in here, which I hadn't really thought of it before, but when you're doing foundations, they really have to be, take the time to do them well, but you want them level, because if you can get your foundations level, then actually you can build a firm on the firm foundation. And so I just find that an interesting thing. I talked about it in the context of relationships, and whether we see ourselves as equal as with the people around us, or whether we see ourselves as better than or worse than. And that was actually something that Jackson Umberto just covered with that concept of submission, is actually we're on a common mission. It's not this person above this person. It's a relationship where actually we need to be creating a solid foundation.
And foundations, if you think about a house foundation, they're not something that we call our friends over to have a look at and go, oh, wow, have a look at my foundations. Aren't they amazing?
Well,
built so well. Oh, you
I
did?
might know somebody who did. No, it wasn't me. I might know someone who does that.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm with you. I think I know who you think of. But most of us don't, Denise. And so foundations are covered up pretty quickly with what we build on top. So if our foundations aren't built strong and well, then we need to uncover them and start again, and that can be quite a hard job. Both me and PJ went through that ourselves in our marriage. We had to, we thought we had good foundations, but we got married and we soon realised that, there was lots of probably, like you say, lumpy bits in it and uneven and cracks, and so they just got blown apart and rebuilt on what the foundation that we wanted, which was our faith, was the foundation of our marriage. Everything came with Jesus being the third strand, and what does that look like? And then we fed that into our kids too, like, what does this look like? And they didn't always like us for it.
Right.
But
let's
now
be real.
Let's be real on that. But now as adults, those foundations have carried through into their families, and those things that we inputted in there, I can see being translated out from where they are now in their relationship. So, I'm really grateful for the foundations. But like I say, it wasn't easy. I remember one of the things we did with our kids is we started to have meetings around the table together, talking to each other and engaging in ways that we wouldn't normally engage. Say, what do you think about this, or what's your thoughts on that, and letting each one have their say.
Wow!
Without getting upset by that. I don't know how long that lasted for, but I know that that's something we set in at the very beginning, because we were putting two families together that didn't know each other. I actually had to set out some rules, Denise. I did, and I put them on the wall. I actually wrote them out, and one of them was to say good morning to each other. Because we weren't even like that, there was no good morning or anything like that. It was like, just get your lunch, head off to school, and out you go. So I had to build these relationships that weren't there.
And actually, that's a really powerful learning for your kids. To just, when we come across people who we don't know well or who are different from us, and it's very easy to just walk past and not acknowledge them, and yet to just go, hey, have a great day.
There was none of that. So, the foundations, like I say, they had to be rebuilt and, like I say, built on our faith, but also who did we want to be as people, as parents over these kids. And did we get it right all the time? Absolutely not. But it was a work in progress, and by the time our last one came along, which is our only one we had together, which is our Joshy boy, we actually got it right, Denise. I'm very excited in the foundations that he was born into, whereas our other kids had to watch us rebuild those.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful. I really like that you talked about your faith being a foundation, because often when I do my blogs, I don't often talk explicitly about God and our faith, but it's often in the back of my mind. And the thing about God is that he is dependable, that we can rely on him. He is unchanging. So even when stuff's going on and we're feeling uncertain, or we've got emotions flying, or we're feeling unsafe, or any of those things, we can actually turn to God in prayer, and he becomes like a firm foundation or an anchor that we can hold on to, whatever battering is coming our way. And I guess it's like with a house, you want a house to be well built, because when the storms come, you want it to remain, preferably watertight. But it's important what you actually build your life on.
Yeah, we're back with Becoming Unoffendable, and we're talking all about mamas, families, and foundations, Denise.
I found this verse. There's a verse in the Bible in 1 Timothy that talks about a firm foundation, and just before it was talking about command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. And I was thinking about that. Again, something else that I brought up in the blog was the concept of humility. And I think when we're talking about relationship and talking about whether it's even, whether we value each other evenly, we can very easily slip one way, that we are arrogant, like that talks about, and we actually, whether we have wealth or not, we can look down on other people. I remember I had some wonderful friends when the kids were young, and I can remember them, they were just so servant-hearted, but they had this chip on their shoulder about people who just gave money, and I was just like, oh, because I came from a family where they tended to, give money into projects and things, and I was just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to keep quiet about that, because I don't think you guys will like me anymore. But just there was an arrogance, with or without finances doesn't matter. We can think of ourselves as better than others, but then when we talk about humility, people take that often, I think, to be like absolutely trashing yourself, self-loathing, maybe even going that far. And if I make out myself to be terrible and useless and like a worm, then therefore other people must be elevated beyond, higher than that. So therefore I'm lower than them. Yeah. But what I talk about in there is the concept of humility is actually it's getting a right perspective of who you actually are. So looking at yourself accurately and going, well, I've got these strengths. I also have these weaknesses. So I can't get arrogant because actually I've got these weaknesses. But then again, I can't just stamp on myself because actually I've got these strengths as well and I do have something to offer. So it's holding both and.
Yeah, because we can go into parenting and relationship with a victim mentality, and we get stuck in the victim. Now, that certainly could have been me. I certainly could have got stuck in a victim mentality where it's, everything is against me, but I was determined to develop. And I'm still determined to develop as a human being till the day I die. I want to learn new things. I want to look at those hard edges and how can I work with that in a different way? How can I hear what I don't want to hear or do what I don't want to do? When it's a healthy thing, and it's healthy for me. So to me, self-development is one of the best things we'll ever do. If we, I think arrogance comes from believing that we're there. This, or you hear, well, this is who I am. If I hear that, I'm probably heading for the door. I'm heading for the door. I've already shut the door and I've left the building. It's like, well, then you're going to stay there because there is no self-development in that. And a lot of arrogance can be wrapped around, that's who I am.
I think the thing, and so, humility is a word that often people who follow Jesus talk about that word, and, a lot of them sort of think of it from the self-loathing perspective potentially. But I think, when we position ourselves accurately in relationship to God, that also gives us humility. So, we can't always do things in our own strength as much as we'd like to change other people or whatever. We can't do that ourselves. And, when an issue comes across our path that would blow us over, well, he's strong, he's the firm one. And so when we actually realise that God's place and just his vast presence, his vast ability to be able to reach people all around the world in their time of need, whether it's comforting them, whether it's, protection, whether it's whatever, when we get a little bit of a picture of that, we go, wow, big God, small me. And that deals with that arrogance. I think that, we're like, well, I can do it. I'm in control and I will have my way. And then when we line ourselves up alongside God, it's like, actually, I'm not quite as great as I thought I was. I mean, I'm still awesome, but
there's some things that could do with adjusting in this moment. Yeah, and, I see that often, and how do we get to that place with God? So it could be through prayer, and it could be through listening to worship music, which is Christian music that really moves you and has great messages in there, gives you a different perspective on things, and it might help to bring calm and peace in those moments when you're feeling out of sorts or not making good decisions. Or just simply talking to a good friend too, who is going to not come alongside and agree with you on the nasties, but actually remind you of who you are and how God can be in this situation, and how a friend can come alongside and offer you in your discomfort.
So I think, if we circle back round to that question of what do you expect? Do you expect the world to revolve around you? Well, I'd just like to say, if that's your expectation, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed. Do you expect everybody to wait on you because you've got that victim mindset and you're not actually willing to step out of it? Or are you arrogant and you're not willing to step out of it? Like, what is your expectation? Or are you willing to actually look a little bit more broadly, go, actually, I've got good parts, I've got faults. And then when you look at other people, you're like, well, they've got great parts, but they've also got faults.
Yes.
And so now, knowing that you've got both and knowing that they've got both, maybe you can extend a little bit of grace in a situation that if you were feeling arrogant or a victim, either way, you wouldn't actually be able to extend grace to this other person. You'd be judging them, judging them that they're too good for you, or judging them that they're not good enough.
Yeah. So being able to be open to change our perspective and our foundations, looking at them and how do you want to build your foundation? How do you want to do your family? How do you want to do mothering? It is, we're going to wrap up the show now, and it is Mother's Day this Sunday. It is a time to celebrate mothers in all the different ways that we come into people's lives. Being a mum can mean a lot of different things for different people. We might not be a natural mum to somebody, but we've certainly probably been a mum in their life and had a big impact. And so we want to celebrate you.
You've been listening to a Faith Matters podcast. If you have questions, email us on faithmatters98.1fm@gmail.com.